At the annual meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses held in October 2013, the governing body was pleased to announce the opening of a new display in Brooklyn, New York, entitled The Bible and the Divine Name. We're happy to provide you with an update on what has happened since that time. Our brothers have been excited about the display. More than 133,000 have come to visit since the opening. Many have also shown their interest by donating rare and valuable Bibles to enhance this collection. We are pleased to share some information about some of these fascinating Bibles. At the 2013 annual meeting, we expressed interest in obtaining a first edition copy of the King James Bible, which was printed in the year 1611. Well, we received a surprising email shortly thereafter.
A brother wrote and told us that he had located the King James Bible we were looking for. He explained that while visiting with an elderly couple in his congregation, he mentioned that the governing body was interested in locating this particular Bible. Well, apparently the brother's eyes lit up and he said, "I have one, but how could that be? How could he have not just a rare Bible, but the exact one we were looking for?" We had to wonder if it really was the very rare first edition of the King James Bible.
How would you know if you had a first edition King James Bible? In 1604, King James I of England endorsed an updated English language translation to be read in the churches. The first edition can be identified by a number of unique printing variations. The combination of variations that occur in a given Bible serves as a kind of fingerprint. The variation most commonly associated with the first edition of the King James Bible is found at Ruth chapter 3, verse 15, which reads, "He went into the city." Subsequent editions have the rendering, "She went into the city." So the first edition is commonly known as the He Bible. We were excited when we saw that the donated copy read, "He went into the city."
When the Bible arrived, it was obvious that the binding of this 400-year-old book needed restoration, but the pages of the Bible were in excellent condition. A brother from Belgium who is a specialist in book conservation was able to come and teach us how to restore this valuable Bible. We started the process of restoration by carefully removing each page. Then we gently cleaned the pages and made any needed repairs. Next, we rebound the Bible using techniques that were used at the time when it was printed. Lastly, we bound the Bible in a leather cover. It has been fully restored so that it may be enjoyed for many years to come.
The King James Bible is one of the most significant books in the English language. According to the British Library, the King James, or Authorized Version of the Bible, remains the most widely published text in the English language. Some estimate the number of printed copies to be over 1 billion. Protestant missionaries often used it as the basis for translating the Bible into other languages. This made its influence even greater. Down through the centuries, as the King James Bible was circulated, the name of Jehovah became known around the earth. We have also received two very important Spanish-language Bible translations, the Reina Bible and the Reina Valera Bible. Both were produced during the height of the Spanish Inquisition. By the close of the 15th century, the Spanish Inquisition forbade the translation and possession of the Scriptures in any vernacular or common language. 3 centuries passed before the ban was finally lifted. During that difficult time, a few valiant translators produced new Spanish versions abroad and had them smuggled into Spain.
In the mid-1500s, living under constant fear of arrest, Casiodoro de Reina began translating the Bible into Spanish. This man loved God's name. He once said, "The custom of omitting God's name perpetrated by the devil arose from a superstition of modern rabbis who, although claiming to revere it, in fact buried his holy name, making God's people forget that by which he wished to be distinguished from all other gods." In 1569, Casiodoro de Reina's translation was finally printed. It preserved the divine name, Jehovah, throughout the Hebrew scriptures. Then, in 1582, another brave scholar, Cipriano de Valera, carefully began to revise Reina's translation. He was 50 years old when he started, and he labored on this translation for the next 20 years. In 1602, his work was finally published in Amsterdam. Valera also valued the divine name, and he used it throughout the Hebrew scriptures. Today, his translation is known as the Reina Valera Bible. It has become one of the most widely used translations in the Spanish-speaking world.
These Bibles remind us of the intense struggle that has taken place to translate the Bible into common languages and to preserve the divine name. Our brothers have manifested tremendous generosity by donating these Bibles, and we continue to be amazed by the Bibles that we are receiving. Consider another unique example.
In 1964, a man found a 250-year-old Latin Bible in the basement of a church. This was a unique find. The most common edition of the Latin Bible, translated by Jerome, was completed in the year 405. It came to be known as the Latin Vulgate. Sadly, it does not use the divine name. However, the Bible that was found in the church basement consistently uses God's name throughout the Hebrew Scriptures. It was the 1708 edition of the Latin translation, produced by Sebastian Schmidt. At first, when the man discovered this Bible, he was told to burn it, but he just couldn't. Recently, this man began studying the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses. When he heard about the Bible display, he donated this very interesting Latin Bible. Later, when he came to the display and saw the Bible there, he said, "After 50 years of this Bible sitting in my house, it is thrilling to see thousands of people finally able to enjoy it."
In the early 16th century, many people had a strong desire to know more about the Bible. By that time, the Latin Vulgate had been the common Bible for more than 1,000 years. But sadly, most people could not read Latin. Adding to the problem, many errors had crept into the Vulgate as it was copied over the centuries. Translators and scholars realized that they needed to go back to the original languages if they were to produce accurate Bible translations that would satisfy the growing thirst for scriptural knowledge.
In 1502, Cardinal Jiménez de Cisneros began work on what would become a historic Bible translation tool. Today it is known as the Complutensian Polyglot. Cisneros began gathering as many ancient manuscripts as he could find in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Then a team of scholars started to compare the manuscripts with the idea of producing one complete master text for each of the three languages. It took the scholars 10 years to compile this monumental work, and then the actual printing took another 4 years. Spanish printers did not have the necessary type fonts and had to prepare them before the Bible could be printed. Finally, between 1514 and 1517, the 6-volume set was printed. After some 15 years of effort, this was an overwhelming accomplishment. It was the first time that Hebrew, Greek, and Latin master texts for the entire Bible were printed side by side, making them easy to compare. Actually, this was the first time that the complete New Testament had ever been printed in Greek. However, the Pope did not give approval to the polyglot until years later, delaying its public release until 1522. The Complutensian Polyglot was an important step in the refinement and preservation of the Greek and Hebrew text of God's Word. Of the approximately 600 copies originally printed, only about 1/5 are known to have survived until today. At about the same time that the Complutensian Polyglot was produced, Another scholar, Desiderius Erasmus, was working on his Greek New Testament. He too wanted to make available the complete printed Greek New Testament for the use of scholars and Bible translators. He was able to publish his work in 1516. Because the distribution of the Complutensian polyglot was delayed, Erasmus' Greek New Testament became the first complete printed edition available to scholars. Groundbreaking translators such as Martin Luther and William Tyndale used various editions of his text to accomplish their work of translating the Greek scriptures into German and English.
We are pleased to inform you that the Complutensian polyglot and Erasmus' Greek New Testament of 1516 have both been donated to the Bible display. Of course, those who have visited the display may have difficulty imagining that we would have enough space to include these fascinating Bibles there. We are pleased to announce that the designated area for the Bible display at Warwick will be much larger. Would you like to see what it will look like?
The governing body has directed that the display should feature the Bible. The Bible itself should be the star of the display. And in particular, the focus should be on Jehovah's name. Therefore, the overall design of a display will communicate a feeling of deep respect and reverence for God's Word. We will use strong architectural features to illustrate the strength and security that come from reading and applying God's Word. The lighting and interior design will help to create a spiritually reflective environment. The main part of a display will be permanent in nature. It will continue to tell the story of the Bible and the divine name as in the current exhibit in Brooklyn. There will also be an area for additional exhibits where we will display many other rare and unique Bibles. This area will be updated periodically.
Of course, the Bibles that we have discussed are only a few of the many that have been generously donated. We have also received items such as the Leipzig Polyglot and the Julia E. Smith Bible. Julia E. Smith was the first woman to make a complete English translation of the Bible from the original Hebrew and Greek. She produced a literal translation, and in her work, she chose to preserve the divine name. We can't mention all of the donations in this brief update, but if you visit the Bible display when it opens in Warwick, New York, you will be able to see many of them there. By that time, we hope to have received even more rare and unique Bibles to add to the display. These Bibles remind us of the many God-fearing people down through the ages who worked tirelessly to preserve God's Word and to make known His holy name. They also show that Jehovah has fulfilled His promise to preserve His Word and to magnify His name in all the earth. We invite all of you to come and see the Bible display at our current world headquarters in Brooklyn, and later when it is greatly expanded in Warwick. We are certain that it will deepen your appreciation for God's precious Word and for His matchless name, Jehovah.